Robinson for three. All right, here is and it's good. And you see the time. Wittenberg.
There you are. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star, and all the years no one knows just how hard you worked, but now it shows. In one shining moment you reach deep inside. One shining moment you knew you were alive. Feel the beat of your heart, feel the wind in your face. It's more than a contest, it's more than a race.
The dream was to cut the nets down in the national championship. That was my dream. That's why I coached.
It's the pageantry, it's the excitement, it's the unpredictability.
If we run our offense, we play our defense, then no team in the country can handle Michigan State.
There has been that one team each year that has enjoyed that one singular shining moment.
One shining moment.
One shining moment. The best of the NCAA championship. They gather every spring to determine a champion with roots that go back to 1939, creating a legacy that represents the best that college basketball has to offer. Each year, the NCAA basketball championship provides the time and the place. And each year, it seems that there are new faces ready to take advantage of their time on center stage. Picture a lineage of great teams and great players. At times, some more celebrated than others. But together, they create a madness like no other, providing a forum for that one shining moment when everyone is celebrating them and they are celebrating a national championship. Patrick Ewing's senior season at Georgetown was expected to provide one of those shining moments. And while it ultimately did, it wasn't on Georgetown that the spotlight shone. In 1985, 3 Big East teams went to the Final Four. Among them, the upstart Villanova Wildcats, who made it to the championship game where they would face their conference rivals, the heavily favored Hoyas of Georgetown.
The newspapers did not give them a chance. I remember it like it was yesterday. The article in the paper the day of the game said, Villanova will win this game when there'll be Martians in the White House.
Everyone thought we were supposed to lose. We were still going to have a parade, whether we won or lost. They were going to get hugs and kisses from their moms and their girlfriends. It didn't make any difference. So let's go play. Let's go play to win, and that's what we did.
It wouldn't be easy, but Villanova, perhaps inspired by the presence of longtime trainer Jake Nevin, or perhaps secure with the knowledge that comes with familiarity, set out to give the Hoyas a game. To the Wildcats, Georgetown wasn't an invincible or mysterious foe, just a conference rival that wasn't about to intimidate them no matter how aggressive the Hoyas were at the outset. Even though 1985 was the tournament's last season without a 45-second clock, it was important for Villanova to control the game's tempo, and it did, playing on what seemed to be an internal timer.
It was rare that he spent much more than 45 seconds with a possession, but he did spend 40 or 43 or 38. He spent a lot of time with the ball waiting for the best shot possible. And when you see the shooting statistics, you know they got the best shot possible.
Picking apart the most ferocious defense in the country, Villanova kept the game close to the second half, making 9 of its 10 shots.
A lot of the shots that they took, we were very much aware of the fact that those were extraordinarily tough shots, shots that ordinarily you would want a team to take, and those balls were going in the basket.
When is it going to end? When's the drought going to come? We're going to miss 2 or 3 in a row, and maybe they'll take off, but we didn't.
On an evening when they couldn't afford to miss, the Wildcats rarely did, shooting an astounding 79% from the field. Harold Jensen led the way, missing just a single foul shot all game. And his 5 for 5 from the field included the go-ahead basket with 2.5 minutes to play.
It's down as one of the greatest sports moments in Philadelphia history, the shot. I mean, to have the nerve and the fortitude, intestinal fortitude, to take a shot like that, I mean, with all the ramifications, but it just goes to show that those kids were on another level.
In the end, that other level took Villanova to a 66-64 win, its first national championship, an incomparable achievement for Rollie Massimino and his Wildcats. They had beaten the best when nobody expected them to, creating along the way a legacy that underdogs everywhere will long aspire to match.
It was a shining moment, obviously, because you reached the heights, the culmination of something that is very, very special, that every coach in the world would like to be a part of. And that's all I wanted to have for my friends, my people, who I loved and really shared this great dream.
Almost 20 years earlier, the Kentucky Wildcats were another team thought to be unbeatable. Led by its coach, Adolph Rupp, Kentucky came into the 1966 finals heavy favorites to beat Don Haskins' Texas Western Miners. Unknown but undaunted, little was expected of Texas Western, but that further inspired the already confident Miners.
People have given the championship to some one team that we haven't played for yet, and that's very demeaning. So that was very motivating for us. We believe that we got to the championship game to win, regardless of who we played.
Texas Western came out totally unintimidated and took it right to them. And they got a quick lead, handled the ball well, played great defense, stripped Kentucky of the ball time and time again.
Kentucky was one of the fastest and best shooting teams in the country. But on this night, they were thoroughly unprepared for the tenacious Miners trademark.
Defense was our style. We picked you up in the locker room, airport, or the bus station. And from then, we'll guard you until you leave. That was our style. And that was our strategy to make you uncomfortable, to make you nervous, and that would create turnover in itself.
Time and time again, Western's Bobby Joe Hill picked the pocket of Kentucky's All-America guard, Louis Dampier, as the Miners eventually came away with a 72-65 win. Of course, Texas Western won more than just a game that night. Never again would a segregated team challenge for the national championship. In becoming the first team with 5 black starters to win an NCAA title, Texas Western forever changed the face of college basketball.
Winning the next championship means that we have an opportunity to go down in history. Winning the next championship 25 years later now is more important to us now than it was 25 years ago.
Only very little in this half.
Sometimes just getting to the Final Four can mean as much to a school as winning the national championship. That was certainly the case in 1977, when the University of North Carolina at Charlotte and its charismatic star, Cedric Cornbread Maxwell, came from nowhere to capture the country's attention, riding a series of improbable upsets to make it to the Final Four in its first ever tournament appearance.
It was UNCC's dream to go to the Final Four. It was my dream, and it was really an achievement for us that we got as far as we did and played as well as we did. But it was gratifying for us just to get there.
6'8" senior from Kingston, North Carolina, Cedric Cornbread Maxwell.
Against Al McGuire's Marquette Warriors in the national semifinals, UNC Charlotte kept the low-scoring game close, finding themselves down by a basket with time running out.
Your 2-minute offense in football. This is the 10-second offense for UNCC. The clock is not official on your screen at the moment.
We had the ball, I think, with 10 seconds to go. And our coach looked at our bench and said, all right, who wants to have the last shot? And everybody kind of like, hell, I don't want it. So with that, I think, and I just kind of said, well, you know, I'll take the shot.
Brett Maxwell, he'll take the shot. Brett Maxwell, timeout with 3 seconds left.
One of the most controversial plays of all time happened with 3 seconds to go.
There's the long pass. Whitehead, go! Jerome Whitehead! It's on, and they got the count. It's up. There's no signal. We'll have to get the official signal. Paul Galvin put his hand through the imaginary circle.
Everybody was gathering around the table to want to know the verdict, and it was like you knew you were just like sitting in the lecture chairs like, did I get the call from the governor? Like, no. So that was the end of the dream. It ended right there.
However, for Marquette's McGuire, the dream continued. His team's run to the 1977 National Championship game against North Carolina had been remarkable also. And when Marquette broke open a tight game late in the second half and went on to beat the Tar Heels, Al McGuire finally had the spotlight shine on him. In his last game as a coach, he had picked a wonderful way to say goodbye. 3 years before, in 1974, McGuire and Marquette lost to North Carolina State in the championship game. But the story that year was the much-awaited semifinal round meeting between NC State and UCLA, the team that had won 7 consecutive national championships.
Obviously, there was an intimidation factor with UCLA. There was UCLA in college basketball at that time, and then there was everybody else.
We were expected at UCLA to win the championship, and nothing less than an undefeated season and the NCAA championship was acceptable, and that was fine with us. We liked that pressure. Coach Wooden taught us how to think like champions, act like champions, behave like champions. Eventually, we became champions.
Maybe the tradition, the mystique, the aura that goes with just winning and winning and winning, maybe that's more than anybody can overcome.
If any team had the potential to overcome the Bruin mystique, it was North Carolina State. Not many teams had the talent to match UCLA, but with David Thompson, the Wolfpack certainly did. And at the half, the game was tied. UCLA then pulled away early in the second half, and it looked like the Bruins were on their way to duplicating their early season rout of State.
We were up significantly in the second half. The game was going our way. They went to the four corner. They started to stall and slow down the game. We lost our composure, we lost our concentration, we lost our attacking style.
I've often felt that they relaxed to a certain degree during the course of that game. Plus, I think we turned it up a notch. At that point, when you've been beaten so badly in December and then you get down by 11, there almost becomes a something in your mind that says, you know, let's save face.
We had a team that would never quit. We had guys out there that wouldn't let you quit. That was the biggest game in our lives. So, you know, we really gave it that extra effort and came up with some big plays and got back into the basketball game.
Taking advantage of his trademark spectacular backdoor alley-oop, the incomparable David Thompson provided most of those big plays, along the way earning the respect of his rivals.
He had great basketball skills. Sure, he could jump, but he could knock down jumpers. He could drive to the hoop. He had a great sense of where the ball was. Truly a great player and very entertaining as well.
The game itself was entertaining too. Led by Thompson, State eventually caught UCLA and stayed with them through the first of 2 overtimes. But the Wolfpack's comeback seemed to run out of steam when UCLA scored the first 7 points of the second extra session.
I said something brilliant like, fellas, we're down 7 points. There's 2 minutes and 7 seconds to go. Somebody may make something good happen fast.
Don't just go lollipopping over the side. Pass the ball and James, see where you should be.
Monty went out, drew a charge, made the 2 free throws, stole the inbounds pass. David makes a layup. 2 minutes to go, now we're down 3 points.
We had some great plays, defensive plays by Monty, Towel, Mo Rivers, and And I think Tommy Burleson came up with a big steal as well. We were able to fight back and get to the point where we were only down by one. I hit a jump shot from the side to give us the lead. And it was the most dramatic game I've ever been in.
And one of the most dramatic games in the history of basketball. State scored the last 11 points to end UCLA's 7-year reign.
It was a terrible shot for us, one that a lot of us, including myself, have never gotten over.
One game later, NC State beat Marquette, and the Wolfpack celebrated their shining moment as national champions.
Ever since I was a little kid in my backyard shooting hoops, I wanted to be associated with a national championship team, and, it was like a dream come true. And of all the things I've accomplished in my career, that national championship stands out as number one.
It was the unknowns against the underachievers when Seton Hall took on Michigan in the 1989 finals. Little was expected of the Wolverines that year. Not only had their recent tournament performances been disappointing, but now they were being led by a coach who took over the team just days before the tournament began.
I do think that when it all happened, there was an immediate and an immense focus where people were saying, well, now they have an excuse. Now they have an excuse to be the same old Michigan that goes out in the second or third round.
We looked at Coach Fisher as kind of an underdog. And, people have a tendency to kind of get behind an underdog, and things gel together under those circumstances.
Bill Frieder's unexpected departure at season's end was the circumstance that made Steve Fisher the Michigan coach. Now in the NCAA Finals, after just 5 games as the head man, Fisher was fortunate enough to ride a spectacular performance by Glenn Rice, who turned in 6 of his greatest games at precisely the right time, scoring 184 points, the most by any player in a single championship.
When the bell sounded, it was time to play. He was just unbelievable. It was like we all just got on his coattails and rode.
When you're playing better than you've ever played before, it's almost like everybody else is in slow motion. And Glenn had talked about that a little bit. It was like he could do anything he wanted and nobody could stop him.
Of course, Rice wasn't alone in his excellence. And when Ramil Robinson capped a Michigan outburst, the Wolverines had a 12-point lead 6 minutes into the second half.
Seton Hall wasn't finished, and we knew that. We knew that they were going to come back and mount a charge.
Just by keeping him away. Morton looks quick. Morton through the lane, hits the field goal.
Actually, it was John Morton who took charge, scoring 17 points in the game's final 8 minutes as Seton Hall fought back.
Single-handedly, John Martin brought the Seton Hall team back into the game.
And Morton with the hot hand.
With less than 30 seconds left, Morton's three-pointer tied the game and eventually sent it into overtime. There, with Seton Hall up by a single point, Michigan had one last chance.
Goes and foul called with 3 seconds.
The game was now Michigan's to win, with Ramil Robinson and the national championship on the line.
Ramil would want to be there over anybody. He would want to be the guy to step to the line with the game on the line.
Free throw. Michigan leads it.
Robinson hit both ends of the 1-and-1, and when Seton Hall's last-second desperation shot clanked off the backboard, Michigan and Steve Fisher had completed a wild ride to their impossible dream.
A tough opponent all the way.
You've been to an amusement park and you look up and you see that big roller coaster, the big one, the scary one. Somebody says, let's go ride it. You go up and you feel the chain underneath you, click, 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 click. That excitement you feel on the trip, on that first big incline, that adrenaline. And then you get to the top about to go over and you're looking over the edge. You feel alive. That's how it feels.
If I were Fisher, I would have immediately quit right then and there. I would have written a book, had a big bestseller, told everybody in America I'm the only undefeated coach with a national championship, and I would have went into television.
A star is born every year at the NCAA basketball championship. For some, it's the culmination of a lifetime of excellence. For others, it happens in an instant. that one shining moment of basketball immortality.
in the center.
UCLA's Bill Walton had a career filled with shining moments. His performance at the 1973 finals against Memphis State, though, will undoubtedly go down in history as his greatest college game.
They were trying to pressure the ball on the perimeter with their zone, and that just left Greg Lee wide open to throw a lot of lob passes to me. And I can remember vividly in that game where we'd run the same play 5 or 6, 7, 8 times in a row. And Greg was sitting on the sideline. I had just scored, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 straight baskets. And Greg was in the huddle, and he said to Coach Wooden, he said, "Hey, Coach, how about calling a different play so somebody else can get some shots?" And Coach sort of shook his head and scratched his chin and said, "Why?" I focused in on that ball. And that's what I wanted. I would see that ball so very clearly. You could see the little grains of leather on it, and you could see each and every spin and bump on it, and that's what I focused on.
Others will long focus on Walton's near-perfect 21 of 22 shooting on his way to a championship game record, 44 points.
To me, it was something very special because I went in there and they had like a 13-13 season, and all of a sudden, you go from having 2,000 and 3,000 people at your games to people can't get tickets.
They had anticipated it and made it so big. I mean, everything was written with Bird versus
Magic Johnson.
But I was ready, and he was ready.
It was probably the most anticipated matchup in college basketball history. The night that Larry Bird and his unbeaten Indiana State Sycamores played for the 1979 National Championship against Magic Johnson and Michigan State.
The whole nation was captivated by the Magic Man versus the Bird Man, and you saw that in headlines.
Bird is such a superlative passer that we just felt that he could kill us as well passing as he could shooting.
We had to stop Larry Bird from having one of those tremendous games that he had periodically.
Michigan State forced Bird into a terrible shooting night, neutralizing the Indiana State star. But at the other end of the court, Magic was on his game.
Magic Johnson with the ball. And he is fouled. Look at Earvin Magic Johnson. Here it comes. The alley-oop to Greg Kelser.
On the opening night of one of the more enduring individual rivalries in basketball history, the Spartans turned out to have too many weapons for Indiana State, as Michigan State went on to a 75-64 win.
Champions, 1979.
The college fan became a fan of Bird and Johnson, and I think they were really the first guys that took that college enthusiasm and fan with them right to the NBA level, and that has established a pattern which will never change.
Like many before him, Danny Manning's shining moment lasted an entire tournament when he led Kansas to an improbable run to the national championship.
A lot of people counted us out from game one, but we believed in ourselves. And going into the Final Four, there's no pressure on us because we're not supposed to be there. We had a little motto that said, life by the inch is a cinch, life by the yard is hard. And all we're going to do is go out, play hard, play together, and give ourselves a chance to win the ball game, and anything can happen.
What happened in 1988 was that Kansas came into the Final Four as unranked underdogs and left as unlikely champions. And the reason was Danny Manning. Almost single-handedly, Manning led Kansas to its second national championship, scoring 31 points and grabbing 18 rebounds in the Jayhawks' 83-79 upset win over conference rival Oklahoma.
Going into college, I think it's every collegiate athlete's dream to win a national championship. The one shining moment in all of our careers. You can't go out in any better fashion than that.
The atmosphere surrounding the NCAA championship lends itself to miraculous finishes when everything is on the line, and elation or elimination is just a single shot away.
These things happen. People do incredible things.
Will try for a three and hit it. Hunt to the basket.
That unpredictable scene, that great moment. Wow.
Outside the three. It's Higgins. The win.
It's hope. It's dreams come true.
The three. Smith. Oh, yes. Yes. Woo-hoo.
Wow, that's my school, baby.
Fox comes down the baseline and hits it. Carolina wins it.
You know, you have to be good. You have to be lucky.
1 second left. Burrell takes the ball, looking inbound, loops it far up court for George, who catches it, turns around, shoots, and he got it! He hit it! He hit the shot! And the Huskies have won it! The Huskies have won it! George hits the shot!
Not playing the passer. All right, here is Leitner with the shot, and it scores! And Duke wins!
Perhaps the championship's best example of cardiac kids was Jim Valvano's North Carolina State Wolfpack of 1983, who in reaching the finals had 3 of their 5 wins go down to the game's last seconds. But if State were to win the championship, its 6th win would have to come against Houston, the nation's #1 ranked team that had just crushed #2 Louisville in a frightening exhibition of power basketball.
It was one of the best Newt Rockne locker room talks I've ever given in my life. The kids, every once in a while, they were getting ready to go. They thought it was finished. I'd say, I'm not done yet. Sit down. They'd go, I'm not done. Sit down. You know, I talked to every one of them in their face personally. You have to play a perfect game. And then after each guy, I'd say, and we're going to win the national championship.
Right from the start, NC State showed Valvano they were ready, willing, and able to play the perfect game.
Here is Bailey. 6-0.
We were up 8 at the half, I believe. I think like 33-25. It was perfect. We were very confident. But I also know, I told them in the locker room, they're going to make a run. They're going to make a run.
Realistically, Houston was too good a team not to make a run. And with Hakeem Olajuwon dominating on both ends of the court, the Cougars scored 17 of the first 19 points in the second half to take a 7-point lead.
Even when Olajuwon was really playing well, they came back, they took the lead. I don't think that anyone on the bench or on the court thought we were going to lose. I mean, we were really down, and it looked like they were just dominating the game at that point. And I think we still believe somehow, nobody knew how, but we were going to win.
The howl came from Derek Whittenburg, who hit from all over the court as State took full advantage of Houston's poor foul shooting down the stretch to tie the game. With less than a minute to play, NC State got the ball back again, one improbable basket away from an amazing national championship.
Coach V diagrammed a play that was supposed to get one of the perimeter players
a layup going to the basket.
When we got to about the 14 seconds mark or so, we were all out of whack. We were all out of sync.
Down to 14 seconds.
Oh, almost stolen by Drexler. Boy, is he good at that.
They've got to drive to the basket. It's down to 7 seconds.
You can see the time. Wittenberg. Oh, that's a long ways.
They won it. On the dot.
I could hear the announcers say NC State national champions 1983, and I realized I had done it.
The Washington Post wrote, "A trees would tap dance, elephants would drive in Indianapolis 500, and Orson Welles would skip breakfast, lunch, and dinner before NC State figured out a way to beat Houston." You know, when it was over, you know, when you get on the phone and say, "Hey, order the elephants up, teach them to drive, baby."
I felt that no matter what happened, whether it be overtime or a double overtime, we would find a way to win. Somebody would come forward and do something to help us win that game.
The 1957 North Carolina team never gave up hope. By tournament time, the undefeated Tar Heels had come from behind in several wins. And now in the semifinals against Michigan State, they would have to do it again.
I don't think we were really prepared for that game because we were looking a little bit forward, at least I was, to Kansas. But they came out and they played great basketball. And they took us to the wire.
Actually, it was past the wire, but it almost didn't get that far when State's Jack Quiggle threw in a 50-footer, fortunately for Carolina, just after regulation time ended.
I was fairly close to Jack at the time he took that shot, and I knew that it was too late. So it was that kind of thing that creates an attitude, and that attitude is winning when you shouldn't win.
If Johnny Green had made his foul shot at the end of the first overtime, North Carolina wouldn't have won. Instead, Pete Brennan tied the game at the buzzer, and Carolina survived again. The teams battled through another 2 extra periods, with North Carolina eventually hanging on for a 74-70 triple overtime win. The very next night, the Heels were at it again, this time against Kansas, and its star center, Wilt Chamberlain.
We weren't really playing the University of Kansas, we were playing Wilt. We all knew Wilt, the whole world knew Wilt.
If you're playing a 7-foot Wilt Chamberlain, you better learn how to play your game and have him play your game. Because if you play his game, which is an inside game, you're definitely going to wind up on the losing end of that game.
Using 5'11" Tommy Kearns to jump center was a mind game intended to unnerve Wilt. And so was the collapsing defense, which frustrated him and forced the other Jayhawks to shoot from the outside. The plan worked, and the two teams played evenly through regulation, and almost inconceivably into the Tar Heels' second triple overtime in 2 nights. Finally, with Carolina down a point, Maurice King fouled Joe Quigg with 6 seconds left.
Joe had the opportunity. There was a timeout called, and I guess Joe was the coolest guy in the timeout. Everybody else was uptight thinking, hey, Joe, you know, like, what if? Sure enough, Joe went out there and hit those 2 foul shots, and there was a shots heard around Chapel Hill, I'm sure, and around Kansas and the rest of the world.
In the end, North Carolina hung on for a 54-53 win. David had slain Goliath, and the Tar Heels and their coach, Frank McGuire, had won their first ever national championship. 25 years later, now under Coach Dean Smith, North Carolina was still searching for its second national championship. Smith had led the Tar Heels to 6 previous Final Fours, and now against Georgetown in his 7th, he would have to deal with Patrick Ewing, the Hoyas' brilliant freshman, who began the game intent on intimidating North Carolina.
I haven't run across anybody who was any more of a warrior than he was on a basketball court. And we wanted him to establish a tone in the middle that we were going to try to cut down on penetration.
There was, however, absolutely nothing he or anyone else could do to intimidate James Worthy. Scoring on a spectacular array of shots, Worthy carried the Carolina offense throughout the tight game, on his way to becoming the tournament's MVP.
We always felt that James Worthy was the one that broke our back in that game.
He just took off. I mean, he was like man among boys in a sense, and he just stepped it up a notch. It seems like the more
important the game is, I think the more intensity you carry into that game.
He could sure finish a fast break well in college and was able to do that 3 times against Georgetown.
That was a reach in by Jordan. Jordan is playing superb basketball to Worthy. The momentum's changing. Brown mishandled the ball. He lost the handle. The basketball count on this.
I said, James, what was Sleepy Floyd thinking about? 6'2", 6'3", trying to block your dunks. And James kind of shook his head. He said,
the competitiveness, I think, made him, want to try to block the shot. And of course, I couldn't allow that to happen.
But with less than a minute left, Floyd returned the favor, giving Georgetown a 1-point lead. The stage was now set for Michael Jordan's shining moment.
It's a play to go inside, but if they cover that, we throw cross court against the zone and usually have an easy jump shot.
For some odd reason, Coach Smith thought that Michael may be the one. Being a freshman, they might want to put the pressure on him a little bit.
The time, 18. Shot, Jordan, Michael Jordan, 14 seconds. Brown. Look for Sleepy Floyd. He throws to the wrong man. He throws to Worthy. It's over. It's over. He's fouled by Eric Smith.
A lot of people didn't know I existed. So I think that shot really put me on the map. It gave me the confidence that I really needed to propel me from an average player to a better than average player. I think the national championship really stands up, and it's on top of everything because it really started my career.
The 1987 team that we had here was, I thought, a team that had a lot of players who understood their responsibility to one another and their responsibility, I think, to the way we played.
The way Indiana's 87 team played was unlike any Knight had ever coached. Its up-tempo style was far from methodical. And in the championship game against Syracuse, the Hoosiers even relied heavily on college basketball's newest weapon, the three-point shot.
Defense doesn't work. Offers 3.
That was a big part of our offense and a big part of my game, and I think that being the first year that they put the three-point line in, it was a big concern of mine because I knew I'd have a lot of fun. Now my jump shots were worth 1 more point, and fortunately I was able to knock 7 of them down.
Alford's fourth three-pointer gave the Hoosiers a 1-point halftime lead. But Syracuse soon turned that around, jumping all over Indiana at the beginning of the second half to go ahead by 10. But Indiana wasn't through.
We had to make several big plays just to stay in the ball game to prevent things from getting into a 5 or a 6 or 7 point deficit, which is really hard to overcome in a game like that.
Almost all of those big plays came courtesy of Keith Smart, who took over the Indiana offense, scoring 12 of the Hoosiers' last 15 points. In the end, with Indiana down a single point and less than 10 seconds on the clock, there was really only one place for the Hoosiers to go.
Smart takes the shot, and the Hoosiers with 3 seconds. Go ahead. Nobody stopped the clock.
The shot just came to me. I was able to hit it. Nothing can match the way I feel right now, But we've been together for so long, and I'm going to miss this guy right here. All the rest of the team. Good job, Mariah.
The satisfaction from seeing these players involved in something that they'll remember for the rest of their lives. To when that player's own child is sitting with him watching the end. So when he's got a grandchild watching, he can always think, I played in it, and when I played in it, we won it.
It was one of the most dominating performances in the history of the NCAA championship. The night that UNLV dismantled Duke to win the 1990 title, putting on a ferocious display of frenetic basketball.
And it's a 3-on-2 for Vegas. Here's a bounce and low to Johnson. He puts it in.
They weren't going to be denied that night. In the last 15 minutes of the championship game, they turned a 10-point game into a 30-point rout. It was a very difficult loss for us.
Nevada, Las Vegas wins the first championship in its history, the NCAA crown. And the Duke Blue Devils once again denied the glass slipper. Nevada, Las Vegas 103, Duke 73.
The next year, in 1991, the two teams would meet again, this time in the national semifinals, with the top-ranked Rebels solid favorites to repeat as national champions. Duke, however, was surprisingly confident, considering that they would have to play a team that hadn't been in a close game all year long.
Going into the game, we believed we would win the basketball game, and we were not intimidated, and I think we played that way.
Pass ahead to Bobby Hurley, going down on Hunt, over the head. Oh, Grant Hill slam dunk.
They would have a difficult time guarding Christian Laettner during that ball game because he could go inside and outside.
Laettner wide open, lay in good.
You don't stop Larry Johnson, but you try to limit him. We tried to keep it simple, focused, and everyone having the belief that we could win.
The ball is up, and the tip is controlled by Grant Hill. Takes it away from Anthony and lays it in for the first points of the ball game.
Important for Duke to get off to a good start.
Duke did get off to a good start, and with Christian Laettner taking command of the game early, the Devils eventually put UNLV in a position they hadn't experienced in quite some time.
Vegas had won so many games by so many points that I'm not sure if they ever had to develop the discipline of playing with 4 fouls.
Ball to number 4.
Charge. Yes, they called a charge on Anthony. No basket. And that's it. He's out of here. 5 for Anthony.
Greg Anthony's departure left UNLV without its leader, and Duke responded by outscoring the Rebels 8-3 over the game's final minutes.
With just over 2 minutes to go, with us being down 76-71, Hurley's shot was probably the biggest shot in the history of Duke basketball.
5-point lead now, UNLV's biggest of the ball game at 76-71. 2:19 to play. Hurley for 3. Bottoms!
How many big ones has he hit? Add it to the list.
Here's Hill. Penetrating, dumps it off to Davis. Slashing layup. Got it. He's fouled on the play.
Brian Davis's three-point play tied the game. And less than a minute later, Duke had a chance to go ahead.
Pull-up jumper is up. It rolls off. Tip. Laettner has a loose ball, and he's fouled on the play. No shot. No shot. That means it's 2 free throws for Laettner with 12 seconds left.
It was a case where I've been shooting 80% all year, and especially well in the NCAA tournament from the free throw line. So the only thing that went through my mind the whole time was, if I make these, wow, we're going to beat UNLV. We're going to beat UNLV.
Shots up. Shots in. Duke by 2. 79-77. Johnson to the right side. Johnson fakes. Looking. 5 seconds to Hunt. Anderson Hunt stops. Fires a 3. No! It's off the mark. It's over. The Blue Devils have pulled off the biggest upset in the history of Duke basketball. The biggest upset in the history of Duke basketball. And they have beat the number 1 UNLV Running Rebels.
It was a game above other games because of their ability and because of what happened the year before. But it was the best game I've ever been associated with.
2 nights later, Mike Krzyzewski celebrated his shining moment as national champion. Each year, the NCAA basketball championship leaves us with something riveting and memorable, something new and exciting. The schools and the players might change, but the dream remains the same, to be called a champion when everything comes together in that one shining moment.
Anytime you can reach the pinnacle of your profession as a player, as a coach, Hey, that's one shining moment that you look back on, that you treasure, that you have forever. It's something that no one will ever take away from you.
The excitement of the big event, the intensity in the arena, I love that.
Saying the Final Four. Forget about being there. It's a wonderful thing to say, and it's great alliteration. It sounds great. It's euphonious. Final Four.
There is no event greater than the Final Four, when those 4 teams gather for that special moment.
When the clock is ticking down and you look up at the clock and you know the opponent is not going to beat you and you have the doggone national championship, I think that is the one shining moment of all shining moments.
This has been a Black Canyon production.